If you are into movement and handstands, yoga, going upside down, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Guys, girls, and my often forgotten, but not by me, trombone players. Today, I'm going to be taking you through a really cool and interesting movement. It's going to be our low cartwheel variation. Now, this movement is interesting in many different ways because it will allow us to build up upper body strength, awareness, coordination, time on our hands, time upside down, and of course, over the long term, it will allow you to create different interesting movement sequences, flows, and expand the way that you move your body and express yourself in motion. So I'm going to take you through a series of progressions that's going to make this movement accessible for you. It's going to help you train for it, and if you already can do it, it's going to be an interesting way for you to build up your control inside of this movement. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay team, make sure that you are in a room that has enough space for you to be able to move. You should be able to swing your arms around and not be in contact with anything or that remotely close to something either. That's going to be helpful. Other than that, you're not going to need any equipment for today, and I will take you through the first progression and movement that's going to help kick this off. So you're going to go up into a crouching position, so your heels are going to be off the floor here, and all I want you to do is, using your arms for momentum, is to pivot side to side. 1, 2, now we're going to do 6 pivots all together. 3, 4, 5 and 6, and just get a feel for your feet grounded into the floor, pivoting side to side, and the use of your arm. That's going to kick off the entry into our cartwheel, and you're welcome to repeat this a couple of times in order to get the hang of it. Once you've done these a few times, we're going to move on to placing our hands down on the floor. Now, the placement of our hands is going to be a really important factor in our cartwheel, and it's going to be best demonstrated from the side. So here we go. Let's say I was cartwheeling towards the camera. I'm going to start my pivot, and I'm going to place my hands in front and next to my feet. Notice how my hand isn't placed on the same direct line as my foot. It is placed a little bit behind my foot. That's going to be really important because it's going to buy you a little bit of space here in order to jump up into your cartwheel. If you're having to place your hand right next to the line, you're going to need quite a lot of mobility and more balance in order to get this cartwheel. And that's perhaps not the best way to start going about it. Slightly more advanced, keep that one for later. So let's go ahead and do our pivots. We're going to pivot in each direction, and each time we pivot to one side, we're going to place our hands on the floor to practice the hand placement. So here's how that's going to go. You're in your crouch, you're going to do your pivot. Now the first hand's going to lead the movement. You're going to place it down on the floor, and your second hand is going to draw a big circle overhead, and then you're going to lift your hips up into the air. You will then come back and repeat. Now we're going to alternate side to side without stopping. So here we go. We're going to go 1 and 2. If you feel the back leg wanting to lift, that's absolutely fine. Let's do 2 more, and final 1, and time. Okay team, now that we have figured out the placement of our hands and we've played with the trajectory of the hands, we need to start getting the legs involved, and here's how we're going to do it. We are going to do a single leg lift once we are in the hip lifted position. Here's what that will look like. So you will start the entry into your cartwheel leading with the leading hand, place it down on the floor, opposite hand will draw a big circle up overhead. You are going to match your hands in parallel, and now you should have the back leg feeling like it's losing contact with the floor. That's absolutely fine. You're going to lift that leg up into the air, and you're going to open that hip and straighten the leg. bend the knee, drop the knee, bend the legs. And we have some guests next door doing, what are they doing? They're drilling something. Okay, we're back. So let's pick that up from where we left off. We are going to pivot, hand down on the floor. Other hand's gonna go overhead, matched parallel. Lift up the back leg, open the knee, straighten the leg, and reverse. Close the knee and finish. And we are going to repeat this for reps. Try your best not to segment each movement of the leg. And time. So play with the individual movements of the leg lift. It's going to be lift the leg, open the hip, straighten the leg, and then reverse. Try this for a couple of sets, maybe do 4 to 6 reps. And once you've got the hang of that, we are going to go into the next part of the cartwheel. So the next part is to trace the trajectory of the leg, and we're going to do this in a static variation. Here's what I mean. So you are going to enter your cartwheel, match the hands, lift, straighten, and from here you're going to draw a big circle with that straight leg, and you are simply going to match it symmetrically on the other side. Now from here you are going to reverse the motion, so you're going to lift now the opposite leg, straight, bend, close, and exit. Let's have another look at this on the other side. So pivot, match in parallel, lift, open, straighten, big circle, and match symmetrical, lift, and bend, close, and finish. Now this static variation will teach you the trajectory of the leg, and it will also take you through the muscle activation that's going to be required in order to do your cartwheel. You should feel your hips potentially cramping, definitely working in order to get that leg straight and around. During this whole process, it's very important that you keep your shoulders nice and strong, stable, arms pushed out. Try not to sink into your shoulder blades and collapse at the hands. Okay team, so in order to start getting the cartwheel to jump around and get more dynamic, we are going to need to use the base leg to jump up into the air. At the same time, you are going to want that free leg to drive. So we've got 2 motions happening at the same time, essentially 2 factors that are creating momentum. Number 1, it's going to be that base leg. So the base leg doing its extension here and jumping, and number 2 is going to be the free leg, which is going to be driving. You need those 2 momentum generators to peak at the exact same time in order to make this motion as efficient as possible. What I mean by that is that your leg needs to straighten at the exact same time that your free leg hits its peak driving range. Together. If these 2 don't correlate and do not work together, you're not going to give yourself the easiest time, and your movement will likely look slightly awkward and be broken in some way. So make sure that you pay attention to that detail as you go into this particular movement. So one of the ways we can do that is to mimic the entry. Here's how we're going to do it. We're going to mimic the entry, keep the base leg bent, and then as you extend it, you're going to drive. And then bring it back down and drive. Down, drive. So bend, tap the floor with the free leg, and then drive. As you can see on that last rep, my foot wanted to slide off the floor and go up into the air. You're going to repeat this for 3 to 4 reps on each side, and you can repeat this for 2 to 3 sets. I'm going to do one more here with you guys on the other side, so here we go. My entry, match, keep everything bent here. My base leg is going to push. At the same time, my free leg will finish driving. 3, 4, 5, you should feel the combination of the two momentum generators peaking at the same time, wanting to lift you up. Now, of course, at the same time, you're gonna have to think of keeping your shoulder blade pushed out and your arms nice and grounded and strong. Okay team, we are fast approaching the final progression we have in store for our cartwheel, and this actually isn't even a progression, this is the full thing. This is what we set out to do at the beginning of this video, so hopefully by this point in time you will be comfortable and confident enough to, number one, know where you need to go, and number two, how you need to get there. These are the two things that we really need to be aware of and conscious of in our movement practice when we are learning new movements or skills. Where are you going and how are you getting there are two questions that you should know the answer to. If you don't, there's going to be some sort of an issue inside of the movement. So make sure you have that all pre-mapped into your mind before you even go for it. Think of when you are heading to a new location that you've never been to and you whack the direction into your Google Maps and it gives you that blue line and you can see the road ahead. It's the same thing with movement. You must be able to see where your movement is going and the intention of it before you try. We are not in the business of this fuck it, let's just do it mindset, because that's how you're going to set yourself up for shit quality movement and potential injury. So let's keep everything nice, calm, planned, calculated, and after we get past that stage, we're going to be able to throw caution to the wind because we would have gone through all of the basics and the fundamentals of a solid motor learning process, and that will allow us the freedom to throw our bodies into all sorts of situations down the line. Anyway guys, without further ado, let's get into a few cartwheels. So here we go. We are going to go in, match, and jump the legs around, land, and finish. You must think of anticipating your landing and trying your best to do what's called sticking it. So once you land on that single leg, try your best to freeze in that landing position. It's the exact same position on either side when you enter and when you exit. So you should be familiar with it. Try your best to land, freeze in that position before you sink out into your pivot. That's going to increase your control and increase your options out of this movement later. If, of course, however, for now, going through the cartwheel is simply enough, then that is enough. Let's do a few more. Up, land, finish. And up, control if you can, and pivot out. Okay team, that is all I have for you guys today. Let's quickly recap what we did and what we went through so that you can leave this video with a sense of closure and you know exactly what you're going to do if you do decide to practice this movement in your own time. First of all, we looked at the entry and the hand placement. So you want to be placing your hands a little bit further back behind you. This is going to open up the options for you. Number two, we want our momentum generators to peak at the same time. What do I mean by that? Your base leg should be extending at the same time as your free leg has hit its maximum range. These two momentum generators peaking at the same time will give you the best chance of efficiently lifting up into your cartwheel. Number three, we want to be anticipating the landing. We want to know where we are going at every single point in the movement so that none of it is a surprise to us. So using the drill that we did where we walked our feet over to the symmetrical side, we should have a good idea of where that foot needs to go on the landing, which should allow us to control and freeze in that landing position. And there you have it guys, that is your low cartwheel progression video. There are different ways to go about this and different progressions and layers that we can add to this movement. So do stay tuned, I'm going to be going into this one in future videos with more layers, details, and I'm sure you're gonna love it. If you've been watching this video and all you were thinking about throughout the whole thing was, man, I really like Farid's trainers, Vivo Barefoot for wicked barefoot minimal trainers, guys. Go check them out. Discount code Farid, my name in caps. will get you some percent off. So do go ahead and check them out if you made it this far in the video. Guys, thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.